Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to another exciting week of Sunday night Skippy racing action here on iRacing. Can't forget to remind you that this is on iRacing, as I was read the rules here. But we are at virtual Suzuka International Racing Course, as you can see tonight. And Chris and Pete is actually not accurate. It is Chris and Max for the first race. So we're excited to have Max with us tonight.
Yes.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. We are looking forward to having your insight and opinions on the race here. Coming up, we are about finishing up the open qualifying session. So let's take a look here. Rafael Bofill appears to be on top of the leaderboard at the moment. As you can see, the qualifying session is coming to an end, but look how tightly those times are packed. Any favorites that you have for tonight going into the race?
I don't really have any favorites. I haven't been here in a while, so I'm getting back into the swing of things. I'll be looking at all the drivers and deciding then, because
Very good. Yeah. Well, it's it's good to
decide.
see with your own eyes and not necessarily trust what other people have to say. Because, well, we had a couple really exciting updates there as I was talking. Your dad Ian took the lead there for a second, but just about as quickly, Rafael Bofill took back the pole position, and it does look like most everybody is now officially done. Let's take a look at Andrew Cole. He may be the last one out there. So, once again, though, I mean, look at that. Within 1 second there, we've got the top six, and Nick Tullo and Keith Lee not that far behind there. So, should be a really good, interesting race for us to watch tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We got a Joe Zubovich fan in the house. I assume that's big ideas. Andy is on board for that number 11 car of Joe Zubovich and Team El Gato, I believe. So good to see you out there, and we will try to give you updates on how Joe's doing. I'm sure it's going to be very well. He is not far off the pace there for tonight's session. Let's take a look now at the qualifying results as the drivers.
Please. All right, guys. Good evening. Once again, welcome to Suzuka.
Oh, that was Ian. Oh, you know what? Let's just listen
in. Right, thanks for voting for this course. This was the winner of the open vote, so that's why we're running West instead of GP. Remember, there is no pit stop tonight. Fuel is open. You may fuel your car as high or as low as you wish. If you want to run low and then stop for fuel, you can do that. If you want to try and fuel for the whole race, you can do that too. The racetrack, unfortunately, is very hot. It is 50 plus degrees centigrade, 126 degrees Fahrenheit. I have no idea why it's so hot, but there you go. So be aware, really hot track, really cold tires, especially on that first T1, T2 complex. Usual rules apply, no dive bombs, all of the rules of the league. So, please race with your league mentality helmets on. Does anybody have any questions? No, you do not have to do any pit stops tonight. It is open. There's a problem with these pits where if you are gridded on the back side of the pits, there's an invisible massive bump that will break your car, and then you'll have a 40-second tow to get it back into the pits to get it repaired.
So we do apologize. It does look like our iRacing audio for the chat portion is not working right now. I'll try to figure that out between the races, but there is your driver's briefing. Nice and quick.
Any other questions?
And there we have Rafael Bofill on the pole position. Ian's going to start on the front row. And that is your starting lineup here as you're getting ready to go racing. And just like that, here we go. Lights are out.
Off they go.
Marty's waving the green flag. Took no time at all. Raphael and Ian able to go side by side there through turn one. Let's bring up your race information because I know everybody's looking forward to that. What a tough complex of turns there on cold tires.
Cold tires comes very hard driving.
Yeah, you got to really kind of baby it around those corners. And these guys doing a really fantastic job of it so far.
Yeah. Looks like the top here. Let me see. Looks like Raphael just pulled into first with Ian coming up behind him.
Ian getting a nice good look at the inner workings there of Raphael's car.
Looks like Ian goes for the move and gets into first.
Oh, he's going to smoke it just a little bit, though. Tires are still cold. Very tough to make that stick. And ends up paying a little bit of the price. However, all these cars still very tightly packed. And you can see this West configuration just a touch, just a touch, that's an understatement, different than the GP circuit we will see later this evening with the Formula One drivers. But look at this, Andrew Cole and Raphael Bofill really, oh, and we got an accordion effect. That's going to ultimately end up with Ian going around Jake Ashe, losing a nose cone. And yeah, that is unfortunate.
That is going to put a toll on Ian, and Jake Ashe is going to be slowed down a lot throughout the race without a nose cone.
Yeah, the 3 car and the 51 able to go through. You could see just the chain reaction that happened with the braking zone there. I want to go back just a little bit. It does look like Ian is towed to the pits. McLeod's out. Stickney. Actually, McLeod, I do believe, was having internet issues earlier and ultimately out of the race anyway. But I want to see what happened to Oliver Hartley here real quick, although I do hesitate to break away here because we still, look at this, we got, you know what, we'll revisit that. I'll just know that Oliver Hartley was involved in an incident earlier. And right now we've got a great battle for the lead going, and not too far behind them. Oh, you can see Jake Ashe just going super wide there on the turn. There is Joe Zubovich in the 11 car trying to make his way around the outside. And Jake making the smart move to kind of keep the speed down. And that's going to let Joe sneak on by. Although Jake's nose cone appears to be back, so that's good. I repaired there. So an exciting early start to the race. This circuit, tell you what, Max, I don't know that I could picture 40 skippies on this size track. I think that probably would have ended up being a disaster for the next race.
Yeah, I don't think that would fit on this track. But playing the full entire track, I think 40, maybe, yeah, 40 skippies would fit.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. They're going to try it out later tonight. But that would be doing these guys a disservice here. Look at this. Jake Ashe, after having gone wide there, is now back in the hunt for that 4th position with Joe Zubovich directly ahead. And this front stretch there past the start-finish line is offering some really good drafting opportunities and passing opportunities for these drivers.
Yeah, this track is pretty, like, has like so many different like chicanes in it that is hard on cold tires.
Yeah, they got to have a little bit of mix of the ability to have a run off those more technical corners, right?
Yeah.
And make it stick. But once these tires warm up, we're gonna, I think, see them start to take little more chances when they're
People are
able to.
gonna be more aggressive.
And speaking of that, look at that Andrew Cole looking to the inside, although not just enough right now. This is going to be a great battle for the lead here. These two drivers, very strong, and looking forward to seeing what they can do for the remainder of the race, because right now they have basically checked out. They've got well over a 3-second gap from the rest of the field. So it is the Phil Cole show for all intents and purposes. There is no pit stops tonight, as you heard Ian brief the drivers. So it is what it is. There's no pit strategy to be had. It's all the marbles.
Let's hope they planned their stuff out correctly.
Yeah, a little bit different challenge, trying to fine tune that fuel load.
Yeah, you don't want too much or your car's gonna go too slow.
No, it's not going too slow right now is Jake Ashe. He set the purple lap for the evening so far, so really trying to work his way back up past Joe. Now his eyes set squarely on Nick Tullo for that final podium position. And there's Nick. Let's take a look back at the lap times. Actually, you know what? Let's look at sector times. Get a little more granular here and see what Jake Ashe has for him. It's like they traded barbs there for the first two sectors, but Jake's going to have their run on him for sector 3. This is going to be really interesting to watch. As I mentioned earlier, Jake really having some pace here in the late going, or the mid going, I guess, and Joe looking on, trying to hang on and stay in that draft. Let Jake pull him up there toward the front, see if we can't have a 3-way battle for the final podium position.
It still looks like Andrew Cole and Raphael are still going for. Raphael's trying to stay in first, and Andrew's looking like he really wants that first place.
We know Raphael's speed. Cole is more of a, just from the Skippy Formula 2 races, I should say, is more of a proven entity because he's been around for a little bit longer. So we just don't have the history on Beaufort, but you can see right there, Andrew Cole just smoking it a little bit. And I do believe it was Cole who was locked in a battle for first in Road Atlanta with McLeod last week. So this position shouldn't be that unfamiliar to him, and he kept his cool in the last race. He just did not have it through that final sector at Road Atlanta. I'm thinking he's kind of bared down and did some practice and hoping that he's got what it takes to make that last lap pass that he was unable to execute last week. But Andrew Cole, a very strong contender for the overall championship, so a very impressive run here by Raphael Beaufort, who has overtaken Jake for the hot lap of the night.
Yes.
Look at this. I don't know. Speaking of Jake and trying to hunt down Nick Tullo, well, there you go. Joe Zubovich making the pass, and Joe's like, you know what? You've led us this far. Let me take us the rest of the way to get in contact there with Nick. Let's take a look and see how Joe was able to make that pass. I just got to run off, got on the inside there. So he had been tracking Jake down for, not exactly sure what happened there, but there you go. Looks like they are getting closer and closer. And suddenly that gap up front, 1.4 seconds. I'm not sure what happened there. I'm not seeing any indications of off tracks or incidents or anything like that. It looks like Raphael is setting yet another purple lap, so that just could be as simple as that. He's just got the pace. And nearly 0.4 seconds there on that last lap, so maybe walking away with this one. I don't know, Max. How about this battle here, though, for third place? So while Raphael and Andrew have checked out, I'll tell you, this Jake made his way back past Joe for that fourth spot, but still, all three of these cars now in pretty close contact with one another as we ride along here with Joe Zubovich.
Yeah, it looks like they're all in their space, I could say.
Who do you have in this race here? You got any favorites between these three?
I feel like Jake Ashe is holding together really well. And if you look at Nick, he's been holding 2 cars off this whole time, so I think he's got a good run at things.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, I've said before on the stream here that being out front and not driving in your rear view mirror is one of the toughest things to do. And I think it's much easier to be a little bit behind as we see one heck of a run. They're going to be going 3 wide here.
Looks like Joe Zubovich is on the outside.
Ooh, that's a tight little corner there. They just tiptoeing, but that's going to let Joe go on by. What a sequence there by Joe, Jake, and Nick. Holy cow.
That was close.
Jake's not done though. He's really pressing the matter here. He wants that position.
Oh, he got the inside line.
And our audio's not working, but Jake said something. Looks like he's gonna let Joe. I think maybe he thought that pass was not savory or something, because looked like Jake kind of let off the gas there a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, look at Jake just sliding that car. Let's ride along board here with Nick. He's got a great view of everything going on. That gap for the lead there is maintained about 1.3, 1.4 seconds, so. Oops, not that. There we go. There's Nick.
They're all 3 of them. Nick, Jake Ashe, Joe, they're all really close together going around these corners.
So we know Nick is fast. He was leading this group at one point, and wondering if he's maybe just kind of saving, waiting, seeing if Joe and Jake press the matter so much that they end up taking each other out, and he gets the easy position, but he's just kind of remaining in striking distance for the time being.
Yeah. It looks like Jake Ashe might try to take the position away from Joe. And it looks like he does.
At least momentarily, because look at this. Joe's going to look to the inside.
And then
Woo!
Jake goes out wide.
Michael McLeod checking in. Glad your internet's better, man. But holy cow, you are missing one heck of a race. I'm sorry that you weren't able to participate tonight. But I'm sure you will do just fine. Some little extra practice there for the Formula One race here later this evening. And check out this battle here, though, for that third position while you can, because this is just good stuff. Joe and Jake just really going at it. Nick in the mix as well. I feel like that last corner there is where Nick's really a little bit slower than the other two guys, but for the rest of it, he's a little bit. There's other corners there where he's faster, so I think maybe if he can just get ahead through the rest and hold him off long enough,
Yeah.
that would be his best bet. It's not going to be in that corner where he's going to be able to make that pass and down this straightaway here across the start finish line.
It's like Jake just tries to take the inside line on Joe and gets it away with it.
And then some. Look at him. Man, these guys want it bad. They are going, just really sending it. And look at this. This is going to let Joe on the inside there, and he's going to take it.
No, it looks like Jake keeps it.
Ooh, got a better run off. So having that outside, I guess, is all right there, because you can't really just let the car drift to the outside as you stand on the accelerator. But Jake's going to go off. No. So there's Joe. That's going to let Nick get clear.
See if Nick tries to go for Joe.
It was a little better turn for him there. And it's just, there's just so much drafting capability here with these cars. And even though this is a shorter circuit than what we will see later, there still seems to be plenty of drafting opportunities and passing opportunities, especially once we get past this. Right here, we'll see what happens. You can see Nick really hugging that inside line there. And to good effect, because he is right on Joe's gearbox. And I'm guessing he's going to swing here the outside, or... oh no, maybe not. Just going to hang out. Like I said, it looked like he was maybe just kind of plotting his next move there earlier. And it seems to be bearing out right now, at least. I got to imagine he had the opportunity to kind of pull out and make the move, but a better... ooh, Jake locks it up to avoid the contact there. He looked inside, thought better of it. Okay, well, as we're talking here, things have heated up here at the front of the pack. Suddenly, Andrew Cole right on Rafael Bofil's bumper and, gearbox. Wishing I could see how that may have happened, but I was so caught up in that battle for third there that I am not 100% sure. There you see Andrew Cole right there.
Andrew Cole backing up just a little bit away from his box.
Important to note, both of these drivers really opening up quite a gap. You can see where they are on the track map there. Joe Zubovich in third place, just crossing the start-finish line. So, barring these guys making contact with one another, this should be the race for the lead, even though we've got just shy of 15 minutes left in the race. And if you're keeping your eye out there on the timing tower, Jake has passed Nick once again for fourth position. So that battle continuing to rage back there.
It looks like Joe is getting a little bit further away from Jake.
And keep your eyes there on Oliver Hartley. So the last time I looked, he was 4 seconds back, and now he's about 3.3 seconds back. So he may have some pace there. We mentioned he had an accident earlier, and again, I'm not 100% sure what happened as Andrew Cole now right up on Rafael Bofill, but the Oliver Hartley may actually have some really good pace here, and it seems to be that he is able to track down that front pack. So this may end up eventually becoming a four-way battle for the final podium spot. Although, like you said, Joe now well over a second clear of 77 and 181.
Yeah, it looks like Oliver Hartley is actually catching a lot of pace on these three.
So unless I'm mistaken, there are no points here for lap slide like there is in the Formula One races. So Andrew Cole can afford to hang back and kind of watch as plot his move, I guess I should say, a little bit more than maybe just giving up the points there, because I gotta say these two are in prime position to take home the championship by season's end. So every point is going to count. And Jake passing Joe Zubovich. So that 1.3 second lead evaporates.
But it looks like Jake goes really wide, and Joe Zubovich gets the spot back.
Just like that, he's going to be a little slow. Joe's going to have a heck of a run. Nick Tullo has to check up. And guess who you see there in that Google car, just kind of plodding his way back up? There's Oliver Hartley, not that far out of the picture now, well within frame. All right, while things have shaken out here a little bit, let's take a look, real quick look back at. Oh, okay. So he was out there on his own. It was early enough in the race. Those are just cold tires. It was early enough in the race. I thought maybe it wouldn't happen, but all the more impressive having gone back to the pits then. Repaired his car, and now he's out here hunting down this pack. And I mean, I don't want to say anything too soon, but may walk away with a podium. I don't even know what to say here. Jake is back past Joe. I mean, I blink and this guy's moved his way back up into third spot. I like, what in the world?
At this point, they could just trade and it wouldn't make a difference.
I don't even know. So he had worked his from that earlier mistake, and yeah, able to just clear him. And holy cow, yeah, Joe had to really back off there and let They get right on clear, and by a long shot. Holy cow. 1.75 seconds right now is the gap back to Joe. Rafael Bofill out there setting hot laps, and or Andrew Cole tasked with tracking him down. 1.5 seconds now, the gap once again after having been right on his gearbox not 1 or 2 laps ago. So now the number 11 of Joe Zubovich is tasked with dragging Nick Tullo back up to the front there, back up to Jake Ashe, and make this a race once again. Oliver Hartley still just hanging. Okay, so I thought, he's kind of charging up, but 3.3 seconds remains the gap back to Nick, so we'll see if he can't make a little bit of room on that, but for the time being, unable to close the gap. In sight, but not in reach.
It looks like Raphael is definitely getting away from Andrew Cole a bit.
Look at that, 2.6 seconds now. The gap, and the field starting to stretch out just a little bit. Joe and Nick, the only real close battle right now for position. And we are ticking past 27 and a half minutes here, so 7.5 minutes remaining in the race. Oliver Hartley back in pit lane. He must have had some sort of issue, because we are not anticipating having to stop for fuel. Maybe receive some more damage. Looks like he's already on his way back out. Very quick.
I don't know what I don't think he took any damage unless I go back and see.
See if we can minimize. No. So.
Yeah.
Well, look at that gap now. Phil extending it 3.4 seconds, and pretty much the entire field is that way, except for Nick Tullo, Joe Zubovich. 1.4 seconds the gap now, and Jake very happy to see this. Too wide. And see if Joe, yep, he's going to just cycle right back in, and these guys got to work together to catch back up. They've got similar pace, and it's going to take not going side by side. Ooh, Joe has to check up, and Nick's going to spin. Oh, that's going to be the end of their podium dreams, barring something from Jake and Joe just really enjoying the grass there. All right, he's back on. I don't know that they made contact. Tough to tell, though. It does look like Joe gonna give him the position back.
That's unfortunate though, because they were really fighting for that podium spot.
Yeah, I gotta imagine that was a sportsmanship move right there to give the position back. I wasn't sure that they had made contact, but either way, Joe felt. I think, I don't want to assume things here, but it looks like he was willing to give the position back. But yeah, to your point, I mean, they were really starting to track Jake down, and that's going to be the end of that.
Yeah.
They got 12 seconds to make up now, which, barring a off track or wrecking himself. That's going to be real tough to make up on Jake. He's got a podium to lose at the moment. Somebody else who has something to lose is Rafael Bofill, now nearly a 4-second lead. You can see Andrew Cole still in frame and trying his best, but got a really fast driver ahead of him. Still, though, really strong run from tonight. He's up 1 spot from where he qualified, and I'm sure would be very happy to walk away with a second place finish in this very tough and ever improving field.
Yeah.
So we haven't really checked in with him, but Ian Worrell here is running 7th position right now. I believe he just worked his way past Keith Lee and had some early race issues, so was looking really strong for tonight. I'm sure he's a little frustrated, although we'll be racing the Skippy Formula 1 race later.
Hopefully we'll be doing better.
Good to, yes, exactly. Yeah, good. And it won't be the exact same layout, of course, but there will be some similar turns, obviously, and hopefully turn that luck around for next time. Obviously had some pace because he finished on the front row, or qualified on the front row, rather. And I'm sure we're looking really forward to trying to chase down a championship, having finished 2nd last season. But all is not lost. 7th place is still going to be a fine finish, and trying to work his way back up as we tick past 32.5 minutes. We do have just a couple laps left. And Keith Lee, we will also give some love here. Unable to check with him. Again, some early race incident, and still out there though, turning the laps and trying to get those points that he can. You're a little frustrated. Nobody wants to get those early race incidents and, you know, kind of have to work your way back up. That is a very frustrating feeling. I can speak from experience on that. Out here getting those laps in, getting those points and the experience. So good on him. Focusing on your leader here. Based on these lap times, actually, 100% sure when he crossed the finish line. Guess we'll see. This might be the last lap. It might be the penultimate lap. Who knows? But either way, we've got 3-second gap. Andrew just made up roughly half a second there pretty quickly, but the gap still remains 2.8 seconds. And that's going to be the 2nd closest battle on the grid. Nick Tullo, Joe Zubovic being the other one. There we go. Looks like we will get one more lap in, if barely. So with 9 seconds remaining in the race, Rafael Bofill will take the white flag and start his last.
Andrew Cole is probably going to come in 2nd unless Rafael makes a mistake on the last lap, which is very frustrating if that happens.
Certainly. I mean, the only X factor there is the lap traffic, but you can see Keith Lee getting well out of the way and letting the leader by. I'm sure the same will be true for Andrew Cole once he gets there, but 2.8 seconds is still the gap. And you can see Keith just diving out of the way. And let's say, go get him. 2.5 seconds now. Probably not going to be enough. Raphael has everything to lose here, so either Andrew's really pouring on the jets or Raphael's really just trying to make sure that he doesn't do anything to lose it.
Yeah, and if he does, that'll be so unfortunate.
Checkered flags in the air as Raphael Beaufil comes down the front stretch for the last time, and he will take the win there for Skippy Formula 2. Andrew Cole in second place. Back a little further, Jake Ashe out there on an island. Nice run for him, recovering from some mistakes throughout the
Nick
race.
in fourth.
And look at this. Joe Zubovich really closing the gap there. Oh, he's going to wiggle it. Can he get there? He's going to have the run. This is it. Not going to have enough.
Looks like Nick just barely keeps it.
And here comes Oliver Hartley in 6th. And around the last turn comes Ian Worrell. Will bring it home 7th. Keith Lee, a lap down, will finish 8th. As Michael McLeod, Carter Stickney, and you in 11th, I guess officially. So there you go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the race. Let's take a look if we're gonna do a formation lap. We'll go to the Cavo K Racing blimp and
Frozen lead, slow it all the way up.
final results. Raphael Beaufil, congratulations to Raphael on his victory here tonight for hashtag Team Jason. Andrew Cole in 2nd, Jake Ashe in 3rd. Will be your podium. Nick Tullo, Joe Zubovich. Great battle there throughout the race. Nick being able to pull that out there on the final stretch. Oliver Hartley, In World, Keith Lee, and then the rest are non-finishers, 24 laps down. So, great race once again by all involved. And we've got some victory donuts going on there in the background.
Looks like Raphael and rest of the podium winners are very excited. Looks like Joe broke his tire while doing donuts.
That'll happen. That will happen. Well, that was super exciting as always, and some great racing throughout the race. Obviously, we'd like to, thank the drivers for putting on a great show, and we will hope to interview them after the Skippy Formula One race. I can talk. So we will take a quick break and be back. The session will be up shortly. I will set the timer as soon as I get the information, and hope to see you all there. Max, we'll see you on the flip side. Thanks for calling this with me, and look forward to a fun Skippy Formula One race with you.
Yeah, thank you. That was very entertaining.
Indeed. All right, we will see you soon.
See ya.
Welcome back, race fans. Thank you for sticking with us through that short break from the Skippy Formula 2 race. You are joining us now live back at virtual Suzuka International Racing Course here on iRacing for the Skippy Formula 1 race. This is going to be the GP circuit, and we are excited to this time have in the booth. We will be missing Max, but we are excited to join or have Pete join us. I can talk good and stuff. Pete, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing excellent. Bringing greetings from the finally not so frozen north.
Hey, excellent. So the weather's warming up just a little bit, huh?
It was beautiful. The best weekend we've had in quite some time.
Very good. Yeah, I'll tell you, we had a little stint of 70-degree weather earlier here in the Northeast, but I came from a colder climate. I will take the 50s. That is t-shirt and shorts weather as far as I'm concerned, at least for shorter stints of time. So the thing that I'm looking forward to here tonight is that this is a little bit of a different race for us in that we are racing a different configuration than what the public races have been all week. So I'm curious, Pete, what you think that sort of impact that will have on the race tonight.
Yeah, overall, I think it was a solid change. I was, last week I had commented that Suzuka is one of my favorite tracks because of all the opportunities for side-by-side racing. When I said that, it had not occurred to me that the official layout for this week was the Suzuka West layout. The West layout cuts out the entire first section with the S's and that sort of rhythm section, and cuts directly into Dagner and Hairpin and 130R, which I like to not so affectionately refer to as the murdery bits. So I am excited to hear that we went ahead and adopted the GP layout instead. I think it's going to be a much better choice for action in Sunday Night Skippy. And also of note, the big deciding factor here, I think, is the pits for this layout are completely bugged. So the pits are split between the front and the back of the service building. And if you are unfortunate enough to have a pit stall in the back of the building, there's actually a small imperfection in the road surface that surfaces as a bump while you're going over it, and with this damage model can completely destroy your transmission and end your race, even at very low speed.
Yeah, Naomi, we had made mention of that earlier. Naomi checked in and said that should be interesting. Invisible massive bump. So trying to mitigate the risks from that. And this is going to be just a little bit different, configuration, fuel strategy wise. And I know for one, Chris Herrera was looking forward to not having to worry about that. Famously formally, presently, I'm not sure. We're not really, I guess, officially doing teams, but unofficially still a member of Team Running on Empty. So not that can't still be a factor, because all of these guys are still trying to fine tune their fuel loads to be able to finish the race, right? But not carry more than they have to.
Yeah, now these days, a lot of the league has adopted utilities that help with the fuel management strategies, including figuring out appropriate amounts. I believe we're doing a one-stopper tonight. Don't quote me on that. But it will be interesting to see if there's a significant advantage for the drivers that have elected to run one of these fuel or strategy calculators.
And shout out to I won't say who, but because that would give it away. But Joshua Dancy is so cute, not that bad at racing either. Agreed on both counts there. Thank you for checking in. We are ticking down here on our final seconds of qualifying. Of course, as drivers are out on the track, they will be allowed to finish their lap. It doesn't just automatically cut off at 10 minutes. I am having some troubles tonight. But right now, Christian Perez holding that provisional pole for the moment at least. But you can see just a lot of movers and shakers throughout the field as they're trying to set down that one final hot lap. Oh, and I lied. It's going to turn off automatically at 10 minutes. All right, never mind. Off to a great start tonight. Well, in the meantime, we're having some issues with the iRacing audio, so we'll skip that for now and just try to tap dance our way through the drivers' meeting. Front row. So, first of all, congratulations, Christian Perez, back with us tonight and starting on the pole position. So, great result for him, obviously. Um, by the way, if I'm reading that right, by half a second. So, that's impressive. But Chris Herrera will be starting on the front row with him, and I will cycle through the remaining drivers here because there are quite a few tonight, nearly 40. I think we got 39 total that will grid for the race.
Yeah, no, it's interesting taking a look at the qualifying times for this track compared to, honestly, almost the entire last season and the first couple tracks this season, where we would often see a second or less between the top 20, top 25. Now, Suzuka plays very heavily into the hands of drivers that spend a lot of time preparing on cold tires, which is, of course, what you're sitting on in qualifying to manage the balance of the car. There can be last week I had mentioned maybe up to a second, and we ended up seeing, about 7/10 in difference in pace between the warm tires and the cold tires. Here, it wouldn't surprise me if it's considerably more than that, right? Especially for those mid-pack drivers where they're really having to wrestle the car in these more technical sections. And I think we're going to see some of that come to pass. Keep your eye on the pack, those first 3-4 laps in that turn 1 and turn 2 complex. That's putting the car on knife edge almost from the point of turn in while you're on the straight for a good 5-10 seconds almost until you can finally get the car turned in at a T2. You're just playing a careful dance with the rear end of the car, trying to get it to not turn around, but also not scrub so much speed that you end up at a dead standstill coming out of that T2 exit. Another couple areas where we see those big challenging sections on cold tires in this track to keep your eye out for is Spoon, a famously deceptive corner where it looks much faster than it is on entry, and especially on cold tires, you'll learn very quickly that it was in fact a blatant deception. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we see some folks struggle a little bit, get some little wiggles or a tank slapper coming out of there. And of course, bringing us down that back straight into 130R, real high speed, max grip, max attack corner. But on these, in these skippies, on these, skinny street radial tires that, are the same sort of, high performance tires that you might put on a road going sports car, right? Not really designed for track use. These first couple laps going through 130 are very tentative. And some of our more aggressive drivers that are very comfortable on these cold tires, these guys in the first, top 5, top 10, they might just go too wide through there in those first couple of laps, whereas that mid-pack, it's going to be a struggle. That's a really challenging corner. And finally, again, on those cold tires coming in that last chicane, there's actually some elevation change in that chicane that is difficult to see through the broadcast, but you are very aware of it as a driver. That second apex is actually blind as you're turning in because of the very subtle crust that you're going over. Now, on cold tires, that makes the rear end just a little bit looser, right? And if you turn in a little too hard for that right, the rear tires warm up, and then it's just a hot mess getting back onto that front straight.
Well, Team Bell checking in as the lights go out and green flag waves. There goes all the drivers as we head down into turn 1, and we will see, focus on the right drivers here, how this all works out. A lot of room being given for the most part.
Yeah, it looks like for the most part, folks being a little bit more conservative this time around, a little bit different strategy, should we say, compared to what we saw from the pack at Road Atlanta last week. Doesn't seem to be any major issues. Folks, for the most part, getting through unscathed, getting single file before the S's. So maybe we're going to see a lot more strategy, a little bit more patience this week, and we'll see who that pays off for.
Well, the intervals here are still really tight, and cold tires, like you said, really playing a factor. Once they warm up, though, it's going to be game on, and we've got some passing happening back here further in the field, and holy cow, some really tense moments as we've got people locking it up just a little bit. It looks like Spencer Clark's going to be off. Able to save it, though. I can't tell how much damage is done. Sammy Bridges making moves there on Adam Wright. And we will bring up our race information. Lauren Avery is around, who's, boy, you can see him right there, center screen, able to, looks like, escape most of the danger.
No, that's what we were talking about, that in Spoon, where that corner looks like you can carry quite a bit more speed, and if you haven't put in a lot of drilling on the cold tires there, it's very, very easy to get a good look of where you just came from without any notice.
Let's check back in with the leaders here. Basically, Christian Perez, Chris Herrera. Oh, Jack Moffitt is in the pits. Okay, it looks like he may be serving a penalty. So Christian Perez, Chris Herrera, Edwin Virino here in the top three. And already here on lap 2, Chris looking to make moves. Edwin watching on for the time being. These guys have a somewhat decent gap back to Carl Jonke there in third. 1.7 seconds or so is what I'm showing. So
yeah, further back in the pack, we're seeing Max Di Guacmo making some really aggressive moves, getting a little bit sideways. There's some really interesting exchanges going on there. He looks hungry tonight. We're going to keep an eye on him.
There's Max right there in the gray white car. We did have some mass accident happen. Let's check back in. This is Scott Bell in the 5 car, and the accidents were already happening up in front of him. He did take some damage, but was able to escape most of it. I just don't know what the heck. Maybe Jason Berkheimer here. Trying to get a sense. No. Field just stacks right up. Looks like 2 Team Jason cars getting into it. Jason, or I'm sorry, Peter Lee. Oh boy, yeah, I don't know. Tough to tell. But
yeah, that's that big mess. Again, talking about that T1, T2, where you're on knife edge for so long, especially on the cold tires, and if your rear end gets out just a little tiny bit, those rear tires heat up, and getting able to put the traction down on the exit of T2 is extremely challenging. Real easy to spin the car, and then you've got a train coming behind you that's fully committed to that exit, and sure enough, you can end up in some trouble.
yeah, it kind of looked like maybe Thor Tullo got a little bit loose, and Gurkan Demir got into him, and that was just kind of the end of it. You can see the cars there on pit road as Mike Bauer's around. Oh, I can't. He's up so quick, I can't even tell 100% what happened there, but he's going to try to make a safe re-entry. Of course, always tough to do. Woo! Take one more look from Carl Dronke's view there. Sucking up some seat cushion there, I would imagine.
Yeah, now that's one that happens quite often. I know exactly what happened there. I felt that, in fact, earlier today, running some practice laps just to refamiliarize myself with the track, having not had a chance to go in and mix it up this week. I did that same thing. As soon as you put that rear tire on that small green bit on the exit of 130R, it wants to snap 90 degrees to the left, and you're basically a passenger. Your only option there is to lift, counter steer, and hope that the car's going to come back around for you.
Well, looks like he's able to maintain a little bit of the car, or minimize the damage at least, to your point. But having to wait for safe rejoin there is going to be putting him in quite a hole to dig himself out of. In the meantime, let's check back in here with Max Giacomo, like you were talking about. He is embroiled in a battle with David Cow, Michael McLeod, too wide in front of him. Oh boy!
Yep. So there's that. There's that again. This spoon really deceptive. You think it can carry just a little bit more, but in these early laps, patience is a virtue. It'll be interesting to see what happens here with Max being on maximum attack. If he's going to go ahead and try to force the issue through 130R, it sure looks like it.
Well, let's check back up with the leaders here. Chris Herrera having taken over the lead from Christian Perez. Edwin Virino, they have now worked themselves out to a 2.7, 2.8 second lead. So this is your podium, kind of trying to walk away from the rest of the field for the time being. Unlike the Skippy Formula 2 race, this will award points not on a one-for-one basis, but laps led will eventually score you points if you lead enough of them. So Chris probably happy to try to get out front and score some of those, because as we saw last season and the season before, the point structure right now kind of favors any sort of bonus that you can get, and that could end up being the difference season finale time.
Yeah, let's not talk about that too much there, Chris.
I didn't say any names.
Still a little fresh. Still a little fresh. But absolutely good. Great call out. I think in fact, the way the last two seasons have gone, where the standings end up so close, and those bonus points. If you take the bonus points out of the equation, the entire front five tends to spread out a little bit. Looking at the last couple seasons, I am sure that all of the drivers are keeping that eye on that and are aware of it and trying to gather up those bonus points starting on, week one right away. Those have been the deciding factor, or close to it. So a driver would be remiss not to keep their eye on it.
Yeah, I think as seasons go on and we've made little to no adjustments on that point structure, strategy starts to become more and more clear to these drivers at the front who are making those moves to try to take it all home.
Oh, it looks like Oliver Hartley just got some help going around in Spoon. I was just going to call them out that they had a great pack that was up an average of like 10 spots with this 4-pack. And then they had a bit of a meeting of the minds in that braking section, a little bit of a mess. Now, otherwise, looking through the pack, it looks like we're having some really good, solid pack racing here. Folks are starting to find their groups, but there are a lot of them. So we've got Herrera, Perez, Valerino in the top three. And then 3 seconds back from that, we've got Dronky, Dancy, and Lamoureux. And then another 3 seconds back from there, we've got a 4-pack of Rebello, Decker, Nodwell, Grandin. And then again, only 4 seconds back, Bridges, Aaron Law, Sean Tretiak, Steve Dewar, Adam Wright. And a lot of these guys, especially in that pack, starting around P11 right now, these guys are up 8 positions, 6 positions. These are hungry folks.
Yeah, throughout the field we're going to see a lot of really good racing here as David Cow makes the pass on Jeff Torback, at least momentarily. We'll see if Jeff has anything for him here. With Max looking on, we saw just a replay there really quick of Max going just a little wide. This group of 3 cars racing here, I think, is going to produce some more exciting results as the evening goes on. Really tough to pick somebody to focus on, because to your point, there's just a lot of folks who are really, I don't say pushing it, but I mean they are pushing each other. Sure. And in a good way. I think it's very competitive, and yeah, this this is really fun to watch. I think that we should check in here real quick. We've got a group of 4 that looks like the 33 is going to go a little wide to let them back. 5, actually. Aaron Law's leading this group here of Sammy Bridges, Sean Trediak, Steve Dewar, and Adam Wright. And all of these drivers are super fast, as we all are well aware of. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what these guys can do going in here with still, a solid over half an hour left in the race.
Yeah, now Aaron Law, Sammy Bridges, a couple of those guys I was talking about, Aaron up 8 spots, Sammy Bridges up 6 spots. They're making their charge through the field. I'm guessing they're starting to communicate, start to work together. And Trediak, Dewar, Adam Wright, I imagine looking on, thinking, how much do we push these guys? Do we tuck in for fuel saving? Try to get some track position after the pit stop if Sammy and Aaron, aren't slowing down the pack.
And there goes
sure
Sammy.
enough, a little bit of a commentator's curse there.
What did you do?
I've been working on that over the weekend, trying to make sure how I can bring that to bear, and I'm glad to see that I'm progressing rapidly.
Well, since I know we have a fan in the audience there, and Allison, he who shall not be named is currently riding in 5th and having a great showing, up 2 spots so far. In good company here too. Looks like Peter Nodwell, Sammy Bridges both in pit road. Obviously Sammy for some repairs, I'm sure. I'm not sure what Peter Nodwell is up to, but this is another pack to look at as Carl, Joshua, Eric all in a row trying to work their way back up to that lead pack.
Yeah, now at this point, 2 seconds, a little less than 2 seconds, there is possibility to do some work here to catch this lead pack. This is something that could be overcome if either Christian or Edwin or Chris has a poor pit stop, and then someone in the second pack of Draki, Dancy, and Lemmer nails their pit stop. It is possible that they may be able to close that gap. So again, remember that they don't have to beat them by 2 seconds. They only need to get within 1 second. So if one of these guys in the front falls back and loses 3-4 tenths, and one of these guys in the second pack gains 3-4 tenths, they can able to leapfrog and pull these 2 groups together.
Michael McLeod checking in. Unfortunate internet day. We've all been there, and he had to leave the session there. Sorry to hear that, man. We missed you in the Formula 2 race. We missed you once again in the Formula 1 race, so I hope it works out a little better in the future. But check this out up front as Christian and Edwin make the pass on Chris Herrera. I was just going to call them out because they are in frame. Speaking of which, we were talking about 2 seconds, 1 second. You can see that 3 that we were just looking at well within sight and striking distance here of this lead pack as Christian Perez tries to take the lead back and get those points for laps led and secure his crown once again as season champion.
I'm sure thing. And looking back at the group behind them with Rebello, Granite, and Decker, I wouldn't count these guys out either, right? This is 3 folks that know how to work together in the draft to make something happen in that pit stop. So I'd be curious to see how that works out.
Well, Decker in pit road now.
Yeah, I do see Decker's got a little bit of front wing damage. I'm not sure if that's a factor here. A little bit early for a scheduled pit stop, so maybe he was concerned about pace.
So right on cue here, we're checking back in with this group. Aaron Law kind of pulling out a little bit here, but I think that mainly is a function of the fact that these 3 behind him are really going to battle here. Great racing going on. Sean Trediak, Adam Wright, Steve Dewar up ahead of them. So we got some more folks hitting. Rafael Bofil is out. Jack Moffitt, Rich Butler, JR Hoops, all down pit road. Spencer Clark's on his way out too. So interesting to see. This, to your point, I feel like that's a little early for scheduled pit stops. So this may be.
So double checking the setup for the session tonight. It is a 45-minute race with 2 stops. So we are within the pit
Interesting.
window for that first stop. So I
Okay.
think what we may be seeing from Jeffrey Decker dropping in really early, maybe he's going for that short fuel, try to gain a little bit of track position and then sit and draft, and hopefully save enough fuel where he's able to get a full tank to the end. This is a strategy that you sometimes see from these top guys. They'll actually underfuel so that they can't quite make it unless they get draft. If they can make contact with that next pack, and hope the next pack goes ahead and tries to take a full tank of fuel. If you can get that contact, sit in their draft, and then you're in a good position to fight on that last lap.
That is some Masters level stuff right there. Sean Tredek goes into the inside of Steve Dewar and will take the position. Adam Wright's still looking on this group, but some great racing going on there. Lauren Avery and 452 there. I'm sorry, that's Lauren Avery. Jason Bison, Lauren Avery.
And we're seeing all the leaders come in.
So there you go.
We must be right about there.
Look at that timing tower go go gray. So the takers are plentiful. Let's see who the first person to not take it is and maybe try to overcut. It looks like it's going to be a grand total of 0 people. So let's check in then with Jeffrey Decker. See, he's coming around the chicane here. Actually, is that... Yep, Peter Nodwell just ahead of him.
You saw Dronk got a great jump out of the pits. He might have been able to close the gap. We'll see where they come out. Yeah, just 1.2 seconds behind Chris Herrera. So he was able to make some good progress there. Any kind of mistake from Herrera at this point, and Dronky is going to make contact and bring the entire world with him.
Things just got interesting. And Christian Perez, Edwin Viorino still in pit road. 1 minute. And
yeah, I've got to wonder if that was
seconds.
pit lane speeding for both of them. That was a very long pit stop, very uncharacteristic for them. They're down to P22, P23. That doesn't make any sense to me if that was a planned pit stop without error.
So here we
Okay,
go.
so that makes things interesting. So now we've got Herrera, Dronky, and Dancy making our front three. Dronky has made contact within that 1 second range. We've certainly just shaken things up a good bit. And behind them, we've got that 4-pack with Lamoureux, Nodwell, Decker, and Rebello. They're only 2 seconds back or so. Again, we've got another pit interval where they can be playing with some strategy here. If Decker sits back or Rebello sits back and gets a great run out of that second pit, they're able to save enough fuel, minimize the amount of time that they're in that pit row. Again, if either Dronk or Dancy or Herrera drops back just a little bit, they can leapfrog, just like Dronky did with Chris Herrera in the first pit stop.
Got a lot
Looking
of
a little bit
fast
further
drivers.
back in the field, we've got that 4-pack with David Cow, Jeff Torback, Raphael Bofill, and Lauren Avery making his way back up after that unfortunate issue in Spoon in the first couple laps. And Torback and Cow really going at it, going too wide through 130R. This is going to be action-packed foursome here. We're going to keep an eye on this one.
And don't look now, but
It
Jason
looks like
Weiss there in the back, kind of watching this all happen. And I gotta wonder. I mean, he obviously has some pace, so this could be a 5-way battle here before too long.
Yeah, now the second pack, we just watched them. I was keeping an eye on them through that first sector. So that T1, T2 going through the S's, a lot of side by side, a lot of elbows out. I think these guys have perhaps agreed to go ahead and let that front pack go and have themselves a good old fashioned knife fight. So I would expect to see a lot more moves here as some of these guys realize, like, hey, we're 3 seconds back now. It's going to be really tough to catch this front pack. If they lose any more time, then you start thinking about, okay, I'm going to need to track position within this group that I'm running with. Maybe I need to start turning up the aggression.
Well, Sammy Bridges is back up to 10th position after we saw his unfortunate departure from the track a little bit earlier. He's leading John Tredick, Adam Wright, and Steve Dewar for the moment. His pit stop, or pit lap, I guess, 2 laps earlier than these other guys, so obviously we'll have to be coming in a little bit sooner, but for the moment, really impressive run back up for Sammy Bridges. Really awesome to see.
Yeah, Sammy's still up 8 for the night. Aaron Law still up 10. A lot of guys making some really good moves here. I'm looking a little bit back in the field too. We've seen Jason Bias, Rafael Bolpil up 18, up 13. A lot of movement in this mid pack. Okay, looking a little bit further back, taking a look at Jason Berkheimer and Andrew Cole having themselves a little bit of an exchange here. Maintaining really close gaps. We're seeing right now Andrew Cole taking a peek, coming down that front straight into that T1, T2. Looks like he gets some cooperation from Jason. I think these guys might be trying to work together and reel in a few folks ahead.
Got their work cut out for them, about 24 seconds back up to Thorotolo, but certainly with this much time left in the race, nothing is insurmountable, and these guys both very fast drivers, so hopefully they've got the pace there to try to catch back up and make it interesting. Meanwhile, you were talking Carl, Chris, and Joshua all here. 1, 2, 3, this is your podium for the moment. Let's see what their plan is. Joshua having hit. Oh no, I guess they all technically pit on laps. So this is going to be your top 3 by quite a bit now. 5 seconds, the gap back to Eric Lamoureux in 4th position and that second pack. So I mean, if you're in this lead pack here, Pete, what position do you want to be in? You want to be in Chris, getting those points for the leading the laps, or are you happy to sit back, save fuel a bit, and use that to your advantage for the ultimate win? Because I got to imagine fuel in the tank is a little more useful in the long run. I mean, that seems obvious to say, but like what's the balance there between, okay, I'm gonna let Chris Herrera lead the race and save some fuel for that ultimate win?
Sure. Yeah. So the short version is this bonus point structure and how decisive bonus points have been for entire championships has been effective. So when I'm in that situation with Herrera, I'm looking for a little bit of both. I want to share that draft. I want to save fuel. I don't want to give an opportunity for that pack behind to leapfrog up to us. But I'm also not looking to hand over those bonus points, right? If I can, scoop up those bonus points and it costs me a couple of positions because I lose time in the pits, I can still, in points, end up winning that race as far as the championship is concerned. And vice versa, if I can keep Herrera or anyone else in that pack from scoring too many laps, I can at least ensure that nobody gets too far away from me if I do end up in that P3, P4 position. So typically I'm looking to save fuel for the first couple of sectors. And that last sector, I want to be the first one across the line.
So it looks like you and Carl are of one mind, because he has taken the lead and will try to lead this next lap which Michael McLeod believes will be the start of the second round of pit stops here, and leaders pitting on lap 14 after that. So we'll see. And I'm not a betting man, but I don't necessarily disagree with that. The phrasing earlier that I used, I'm thinking about it, was a little weird. Letting Chris Ferrara lead the race, that's like, I don't know if that was the right way to put it, but obviously all of these fast drivers, and with that drafting opportunities that you have here, regardless of how fast you are, you do have opportunities to make that pass there on that front stretch. Maybe not before the start finish line, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see who's just been sitting back, again, saving fuel, seeing if they can get a little bit more track position for this final, all-out sprint to the finish after we get through the second pit stop, and who was, maybe hoping for a little bit of a chaos factor, pick up someone getting a little bit loose, something like that. But right now, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 packs, on the field right now. There's a lot of opportunity for a lot of strategy, and as we get in that last 10 minutes and we're through that second pit stop, I'd expect to see a lot of action.
Yeah, really tough to figure out what to focus on right now, because we've got iRacing. You can see Christian and Edwin working their way back up to P20. Peter Nodwell in the pits on lap 12, and that will make Michael McLeod the soothsayer of the day here. He has got some magic in his predictions, so if you want to let me know what your lottery tickets are, let me know. I would really appreciate it. I think Powerball is starting to climb back up. Jason Bice looking at the inside here and kind of wants to lead. Lauren Avery, Jeff Torbeck on the way back up. I think that's the 9-car of David Cow as well, and they'll tail end of this 4-car pack. They are going to try to go make contact with Max Giacomo next in P13, and I do believe these cars have the pace to do it. A little further.
Yeah, now Max has put in some really great sectors, but this group behind him, with Bice and Avery, they've definitely got the pace to exploit any kind of little mistake that's made. I wouldn't count them out here even 4 seconds back.
Talking about Sammy Bridges a little bit earlier, he is leading one of these packs that you mentioned, up 2 spots now from when we last checked in to P8, making the most of what was an early race disappointment, and he's now sitting in P8, leading Aaron Law, Sean Trediak, Adam Wright, and Steve Dewar. And this is also a very competitive group, and I'm sure that they are excited to try to work their way up to Jeremy Grandin, who's currently sitting there in the 7th spot and kind of out on his own a little bit. But look at that, he's got Justin Rebello in his sights. So if he can make contact with Justin there and get in that draft pack, he's going to be up with Eric Lamoureux, Jeffrey Decker, Justin Rebello for a battle for the 4th position. So my goodness, what a fantastic race we got here going on. No shortage of excitement as Eric Lamoureux is going to duck into pit road. And unlike the first round of pit stops, we are seeing, there's going to be contact. I think. No? Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know if that was contact so much, just a little bit of a lockup.
Okay, all right. That's good. All right, so we've got a request here for the pit stop sidebar. Bring that up so everybody can see how many pit stops everybody has made. I do believe most of this is going to be accurate regarding fuel strategy, but Carl out there in a lead. He's actually pulled out to 0.5 seconds. So Chris normally likes to hang out right on your gearbox, but Carl making it very difficult for Chris to save fuel in that second position, which is, normally the benefit of not having led the laps.
Well, it's hard to say when you only get a snapshot like that, because when you're saving fuel, a lot of that can be as you're kind of compromising your exit.
That's fair.
if you get just a little bit too aggressive. So it could be, that he was, within 0.1, 0.2 coming into that braking zone, lift very, very early. And if you don't get the timing just perfectly right, they can get a little bit of a scary gap on you on that exit.
Well, ooh, you're sending it a little hot there, but does not want Carl to get too far away. Man, that spoon, I'll tell you what, you brought it up. And it is proving a factor tonight for a lot of drivers out there, but we'll see what happens with the pit strategies. You can see right now, Eric Lamoureux, Chris Trentford passing the grass, Carl having none of it. Clearly, I can't imagine they're thinking about coming in to pit this lap, but maybe. Some good jostling for position on the pit road. Yep, nope, they're gonna get at least one more lap around here. And like I was saying, Eric Lamoureux,
most
your
of
leader.
Our tops, our top
ahead.
16 here is still not pitting in. So we'll be curious to see if they're coming around this lap. Or Decker Rebello just heading in right now. So I think we're going to start seeing these guys come in.
There you go. Keep your eye on Decker and Rebello. Eric Lamoureux, your two-stop leader for the moment, and we'll see where he comes out. Or I'm sorry, where Decker and Rebello come out relative to that. Let's check in here. They are able to actually make it out just ahead, but not by much. Checking back in here with the leaders. Carl Drake still out front. Petrera and Joshua Dancy. They've got right now 15 seconds, nearly 16 seconds over fourth place. And Law having a fantastic night himself, by the way. Let's not forget that. We've mentioned him a few times, but up 15 spots right now. Obviously, part of the group that will have to pit again, but finding himself in fantastic position for the moment. And just a great race overall. Adam right now, right behind him, working his way up through that pack. He was kind of on the caboose end of this racing group and just picking people off one by one. So keep your eyes out on that 87 machine and what he can do for the remainder of the race.
Our top three coming in for their pit cycle right now, all in a group. Looks like a really strong pit entry. I think they're going to come out in the same order they went in if they had the same amount of fuel saving. Everyone really nailed their marks hitting that pit entry.
Jeff Torbeck, David Cow, Christian Perez, Edwin Viorino, the remaining people who need to stop. And that will be the end of it. So I will bring down the pit stops. Let's look at pit lane time instead. Get a good sense of how long people spent from cone to cone there once everything cycles through. Speaking of cycling through, Joshua Dancy is out.
Oh no, I think Dronk might have got a pit lane speeding. He's just dropping through the grid.
He is indeed. Minute and 3 seconds, minute 4 seconds.
And Herrera finds himself all by his lonesome in that, P2, which is effectively P1 spot. Well done.
I believe I'm showing Joshua Dancy up front.
Oh, sure enough. We've got old positional data there. Yeah,
There you go.
it's like he did make that jump.
So right
and
now,
I can
though,
confirm that Dronky did in fact get a pit lane speeding black flag.
that's three contenders taken out by speeding on pit road, and sure these guys up here not super sad about it, but Joshua Dancy out front now. 1.3 seconds is the lead. Keep your eye on that, and we'll see how Chris Herrera can handle and manage that gap and try to work his way back up. He may be within that drafting zone, if you will, on these longer straightaways. A little further back, Jeffrey Decker, Justin Rebello, Eric Lamoureux just having at it.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, when you're several seconds back, and you've gone through all of your pit stops, there's no more strategy left. You know, it's time to start thinking about track position and mitigating risk of being too far back in the pack that you're fighting with, and time to start getting those elbows out.
So that'll be one to watch. Another group to watch here is, right? I mean, Peter Nodwell always one to watch, but that wasn't who I was thinking. Here we go. Sammy Bridges is leading. Adam Wright, Steve Dewar, Sean Trediak, and Aaron Law. Steve Dewar is going to send it wide. Let's see. Fastest lap instead of pit lane time.
You've been keeping half an eye on Perez and Valerino making their way back through the pack after the what seems to be a double pit lane speeding penalty handed out in the first pit stop. Looks like they're about to catch up with Torbeck, and then it's not too much to leapfrog up to David Cow. And if you're Max looking back here, you need to keep your nerve. Don't make any kind of major mistakes, because if you drop a couple seconds here, they're coming for you.
Well, Christian and Edwin really trying to pull their best Pete Broughton here, work their way back up through the field. And, that's I think that's the bar being set here. And if there's two drivers who I would even guess could potentially come close to touching it, would be these two. But, yeah, fantastic. Didn't give up, stayed with it, and working their way back up through the field. Great to see. And that lead that we were talking about for Joshua Dancy has evaporated.
Going back a little bit further in the pack, been seeing a really good exchange between Girk and Demur and Jake Ashe. It's going to be a really exciting last couple laps for these guys. I think they've been all over each other for a couple of laps now.
Well, Jake Ashe has been had a great Skippy Formula 2 race, and I think he learned a lot from that. His own worst enemy through some of those turns had a lot of pace, just kind of sending a little bit wide through some of those turns, and ended up having to remake up those mistakes, time after time, and was able to do so at the end of the day. So a little bit more time on the track, and I don't anticipate that he'll have any trouble. Oh boy, as they both go wide, you can tell these guys both want it. They are really pedaling now and pushing those cars to their limits. And somebody we haven't really talked about tonight, Rich Butler, JR Hoops. Rich Butler up 11 spots right now. JR Hoops up 16. Both of these guys having a fantastic evening so far. And Rich Butler, one of those guys who's found a lot of pace lately. Really good to see him up there in P23.
I'm having a hard time taking my eyes off this pack with Aaron Law, Adam Wright, Steve Dewar, Sammy Bridges, Sean Trediak. I think we're seeing that aggression start to ramp up. 2 to go, no pit stops. Pack of 5. You need to be in that second or third position to make any sort of a move on that final lap. I think these guys sitting in that fourth, fifth position, which at the moment is Bridges and Trediak. I don't think they're going to be happy with that. So we'll see what they can do about it.
I feel like these drivers have found each other quite a bit throughout the, races, throughout the weeks. And they've got a lot of respect for one another. You can tell by how close and clean they are racing each other. So this is going to be one of the more, to your point, compelling battles for the end finish, even though it's not necessarily for the lead. This is going to be some really exciting racing to watch. And I, too, am having a hard time taking the camera off of them, although... Let's see here if we can look a little further back. Max Giacomo has got a... Oh, there he is. He's got a rear view mirror full of Christian Perez and Edwin Vairino working together, to Michael McLeod's point, to get back up there. Currently sitting P14, P15, and trying their darndest to make up some positions before all is said and done. So, essentially,
I feel for Max in this position. Even when I'm looking back and seeing those two together, I start thinking like, okay, what's the difference in draft between these two and draft between me and everyone else? Because Christian and Edwin work so well together. They practice on their own. They've got a whole team that they drill with, drilling these, draft cooperation, fuel strategies, that kind of thing. When they're near each other, watch out. They're gonna reel you in, and you got to keep an eye on that relative, but not lose your cool. You still have to execute.
It'd be remiss if we didn't say that the battle between Eric Lamoureux, Jeffrey Decker, and Justin Mello wasn't another just fantastic group of drivers, really pushing each other, and to your point, elbows out. I think with clearly now, with only a minute left in the race, I mean, this is it. This is going to be everybody's kind of last hurrah. I think Chris Herrera, now currently in the lead, will be taking the white flag when he crosses the line this time by, but Joshua Dancy holding on strong to that second position, not giving Chris an inch. He was back. He's been kind of hanging back 0.4, 0.2, but you can see he's maybe just giving himself enough room where, a little mistake here or there is not going to cost both of them the race. Might be just picking out his right spot to make the move. You better, if you're going to take a shot and try to pass Chris, you better hit, because he will get right back by you if he can. It's not an easy guy to stay ahead of, so pick your points, and I think that's exactly what Joshua Dancy is doing as we start our last lap here. Really curious to see what Joshua has in store for Chris and how this is going to end up.
And that pack with Aaron Law, Dura Bridges, Trediak, right? We're seeing them 3 wide in a T1. They're going hard. I don't know how to call it.
They know it's on. Side-by-side racing. I mean, this is fantastic stuff. You miss it, Pete? Miss it already?
Well, I'm watching. Yep. Yeah, look at these guys. So these guys back in that, again, that fourth, fifth position, that's not going to work. when they get up to 130R. So, if you're Trediak, Sammy Bridges right now, it's all out max attack. I'm not even concerned with defending at this point. It's elbows out. This corner's mine. Let's go. So back up their leaders. We got Herrera and Dancy just coming out of Spoon right now, approaching 130R. Looks like Herrera's going to go ahead and defend it on that inside line, try to set himself up for a stronger run to control the inside of the chicane. Dancy going a little bit wide there. That's going to be an interesting call for using that track extension if that ends up giving him the advantage, which it looks like it has. So.
And
we'll see how that plays out.
this is going to be the final turn here. Joshua Dancy bringing it down to the end. Gonna take home checkered flag, Chris Herrera. We got more racing back here. Holy cow, 0.08 seconds is going to
Oh, we've got contact. We've got some contact with that group with Trediak and Wright. They got real elbows out at the end there.
Oh boy, yeah, you can see cars limping across the line there. I don't even know if John Trediak's gonna make it.
Woo. Oh no. Poor Max got had right at the end coming out of 130R between Perez and Valerino. Great effort trying to keep those guys off. Yeah, I know that pressure well. And going back through the field, looks like we're pretty well spread out now, so I think that's going to be set in our order. And I'll tell you what, Chris, I thought last week with Road Atlanta, with that, that big mess the first couple laps and then sort of the nonstop, some of the off-track excursions and those battles in the chicane, I thought that was trial by fire. But this race is trial by inferno. The number of packs that were going back that were at least 3 cars. I think at any given time there are at least 4 packs of 3 or more cars within a few tenths of each other. This was fantastic to try to stay on top of just action all the way back through the field, all the way from P1 back to those P30s. Having great battles.
Yeah, I for one appreciate struggling through this, trying to figure out where to focus the camera. But great wheel-to-wheel racing throughout the field. A lot of respect there. At least for the moment, really great job there by Joshua Dancy. So good to see the checkered flag through that great battle. Joshua Dancy, Chris Herrera, Eric Lamro are your provisional here podium, and I'm just waiting for the results to go final so I can bring up as we watch the carnage / donuts / frustration
now,
letting out.
If I remember from the interviews last week, that was Dancy's first podium or his highest finish yet, and he didn't win, if I remember correctly, which would make this Dancy's first ever Sunday Night Skippy win.
I mean, you love to see it, and I gotta say, there has been, I don't know if the word is parody, but I mean, it's just, we've seen a lot of people making great strides, and it's awesome to see when you can go into a race and just really honestly have no idea what's going to happen next. So
yeah, there's definitely a couple of names in here. You got Grandin coming up, pushing his way to almost into that top 5. Dancy baking his first win. Lamoureux, newcomer to the league, strong showing. Baking podiums. Aaron Law, Sammy Bridges up 12 and 10 positions to get inside that top 10. Adam Wright, Steve Dewar, Sean Trediak, all these guys, a couple seasons back, they were sitting back in that midfield, P15, P25, and they're packing the top 10. And then the surprise of the evening, Perez, Valerino, sitting 12, 13, Dronky back in 17, all from, minor, minuscule mistakes coming into that pit entry. Any kind of mistake now in the Sunday night Skippy on Sunday, it can cost you the whole top 10. It's brutal out there.
Well, and to your point, these guys are finishing fantastically in a league that is much more competitive than it used to be. I mean, uh, fantastic to see. I think before it's still great and amazing that Edwin and Christian were able to work their way back up to P12, P13 after what we assumed to be speeding penalties. But I wouldn't have counted them out for the win, not too long ago. And and now I think that is a bridge way too far to cross. A simple speeding penalty on pit road is absolutely going to take you out of the competition. And I think the other big one that I wanted to point out too, Justin Rebello there in P5, he may have been up there and gotten a top 5 before, but it may be one of his first top 5s. Always a strong contender for sure, but just really great to see him up. So let's take a look at who is in the booth right now. We got Chris Herrera, and actually, Pete, I'm gonna give it over to you, and I gotta unmute Ian here. Sorry, Ian, if you're listening.
That's okay.
You were breathing a little bit, or the fan. I think it was probably the fan.
I was breathing, was I? Oh, good Lord! Heaven help us if I was breathing.
No.
No breathing on the broadcast, boys.
But I will let you guys take over here as we bring in P2 Chris Herrera, who is muted. Not anymore. There we go. I'm learning. I'm learning as we go. But I guess I'll ask the first question there, and just say congratulations on a great race there, Chris. Pit strategy played a factor. I thought the GP circuit, for however popular or unpopular it was, just a great thing to watch. And you guys put on a fantastic show throughout the field. But just wanted to see what your perspective was on it from your position.
Well, first of all, congrats to Josh Dancy. I hate him, but he had a great. I think I took it a little too not aggressive enough going into the final chicane. I think I gave him more space than I needed to, and then I lost a bunch of acceleration going into the final little mini straights. But he did it, from what I could tell, pretty perfectly. So well done, Josh. As for the race itself, I was a little bit surprised that Christian, Edwin, and I got off to a bit of a gap pretty early on. And then I was hoping / expecting that we would work together in terms of 134R and drafting and whatnot. But after a couple laps, it was pretty clear that Christian was happy just to sit back and fuel save. It's totally fine. But then I decided, all right, well, I can play this game too from the front. So eventually when he passed me, that was when I really slowed down going on the final straight. But then coming out of the pits, I saw that I think both he and Edwin got held up. I'm not entirely sure what happened. And then Dronky and I were battling for a bit. And then going into the second pits, when I came out, Dronky stayed behind. So I don't know if I was just bad luck to be a pit partner or whatnot, but it worked out for me. And then at the end, obviously, it was me and Josh. And I was hoping I had the pace to stay ahead of him and not let him pass me on the final turn. But it didn't quite work out. But I finished the race as opposed to the last two, so I'm pretty happy with that.
So now, Chris, the cuter Chris and I were discussing towards the second half of the race here.
Yes.
When you're in that position where looking at how influential the bonus points have been for the last few seasons, you got someone really, really lightning fast like Perez and Valerino behind you. What's your stance on getting that bonus point versus getting the fuel savings and getting the actual position?
Yeah, well, at least while Edwin and Christian were still with me, my strategy was to fuel save as much as possible. If the opportunity arose, I would get ahead and try to collect some bonus points for the laps led. But I do remember at least 2 races last season, Christian just played me like a fool, and he fuel saved while I thought I was collecting bonus points, and then he ended up finishing 2 or 3 spots ahead of me, so it wasn't even worth it. Whereas this time, I just wanted to make sure I finished at least as high as I started, which I finished exactly where I started. And the fuel saving ended up not being an issue. I actually took a little bit too much fuel in the second pit stop. I forgot to uncheck the box, but at least today, I think if my math is correct, I got 2 bonus points for laps led. So, losing out to Dancy at the line isn't as big of a sting because of that.
Yeah, right. When you look at those championship points, in a way you didn't lose out at all, right? Depending on what he has for bonus, what he has for those bonus points. So it'll be interesting to see how drivers start to really pay attention to those. With how big of a influence they've had, especially you were kind of masterful in the last 2 seasons, really, in picking up those bonus points and annoying me to no end. Right, when it had that impact on the final position. So looks like well done getting a mix of keeping the track position with scoring those bonus points. It was a job well executed.
Thank you, appreciate that. And if my math is correct, I don't think anyone else got enough laps led to accrue any bonus points for that. So that's makes it a little bit sweeter for me.
There we go, free position.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess I'll let you guys go. I know you got some people waiting on, but thanks for all you're doing. It's cool to have Pete out there and not on the track, although I do enjoy the extra competition. So thank you for the kind words, and hello to Running on Empty and everyone else who's watching. I hope we put on a good show. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, sorry about that. My mic was muted. I was trying to talk, but I wasn't. Yeah, thank you for joining us in the booth, and it was great to watch you guys put on a hell of a show, and we always appreciate having you in the booth, and good luck next week.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
That was Chris Herrera. And by the way, I was sitting there listening to him and thinking, already in his head, he's done the math on the laps led for those bonus points, and
right.
He is not the, you know what I mean? Like, he is a data
point
on that.
They're paying attention.
Right.
They're thinking about that before they even get out of the rig.
People are thinking about this like throughout the race, so they're not only like driving these cars to the edge of their limit and within inches of each other and figuring out their fuel strategy and doing all that, but they're counting laps led, and they've got a little number in the back of their mind about what they are thinking about for should I lead these points, should I try to get up front and lead these laps, and I did do that, so now what does that mean? Do I have to push it here? So I mean, just fantastic stuff. Holy cow. I can't believe you guys.
Yeah, but it sort of lines up with people who.
It looks like we do have Mr. Dockery in the booth.
Oh, yes. Sorry, Ian. What were you saying? We'll bring in.
I was just saying that the whole thing with folks working out laps led and all that kind of stuff as they're going around lines up with the racers who are paying attention to in real life the videos that are showing around the track of what other cars are doing. I didn't talk much because I guess I was breathing too hard, but you're not going to forget that
hold
one.
Your breath.
But I was listening to you guys talking about the race as I was racing, and it was really good. I really enjoyed being able to do that. That was pretty amazing.
You get the inside scoop.
And before we jump in with Jonathan here, I did just want to call out, taking a look at the positions gained, we have 2 drivers tied with up 17 positions with JR Hoops. And anyone care to guess who that second driver is?
No idea.
Mr. Ian.
No, really? I was up, 17 positions?
That's what I've got, assuming I can trust my JRT overlay here.
Bloody hell.
There you go.
I'm smiling now, believe me. That's pretty awesome.
Well done. Well, hey, we brought
grid 39, race 22. That looks legitimate. That was a hell of a run.
Oh,
he's
Well,
speechless.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he doesn't even know. I mean, it's a good from the Formula 2 race where things probably ended a little sooner than you wanted. You came back with a vengeance in the Skippy Formula 1 race, so good to see, man.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Finishing just behind you here, we've got Jonathan Dockery in the booth, finishing P25 overall. Jonathan, thanks for joining us tonight. How was the race from your perspective?
not how I wanted to debut my Sunday night Skippy season.
Okay, all right.
I think I qualified 26th.
Yep.
Got up to 21st, 20th. And then Oliver drafted past me, and I followed him for a lap, and I accidentally bumped him getting into a turn. I don't know if he overly slowed, but I got in there like I normally do, and I just fairly lightly bumped him, and we both had to pit early, and so I had to make 3 pit stops. But it was great to see some of the drivers, like y'all were talking about Ian and JR gain massive positions. Huge shout out to the SF2 guys. I heard they had a pretty awesome race with a new winner, and a huge shout out to Herrera and Dancy, who had a pretty good fight for the win, I think. Dancy's a teammate of mine, so it was really awesome to see him win. I actually tried to get him to come do the interview, and he's up there now. So
There you go.
but I missed the first 2 races because of a job change, and now it should be good for the rest of the season. So, and for me, the thing I'm looking forward to most is my best track is coming up, and it's the only track I can really keep up with these guys on. So we go to Watkins Glen in 2 weeks. And I don't know why, but even me and Pete talked about it. And for some reason, Watkins Glen is the one track where I can run really well at. And I'm looking forward to that one. So,
Yeah, now that track suits you for sure. I definitely remember that the Sunday night Skippy session with you. I'm like, where's this guy coming from? All of a sudden, this is a problem. Right?
I do not
so definitely
understand
looking forward to that.
And you would think,
go ahead.
like, this is a pretty good draft track. I'm okay at Intergalagos. I'm decent at Spa, but I don't know. You'd think if I could run at Watkins Glen as good as I do, I could run any of these tracks that good. And I just can't. I don't know why. So, but
Well,
that's
we'll definitely be looking for you on Watkins, and we'll be looking for something special. Now, tonight, I know there's a few less than ideal situations, but taking a look at some of the action on the track for you, I'm seeing 18 position changes, working through traffic all the way through the field. Aside from those couple of incidents, how was that for you? It looks like there's a lot of action.
I dodged a lot of wrecked cars. So it was like, and it was like, so I know we can't dive bomb. So it's like, okay. So I think of a dive bomb as like, if it's a right hand turn and I'm not overlapped to the right side to be on the inside of that car, I don't have right to the inside of that corner. But
Mhm.
there's some instances where after a few laps, that you're better than this guy through this section coming up, but you don't have enough run to get the overlap, but you know how they get into a corner? And they haven't called it a penalty yet, but I'm perfectly okay going around the outside of people on the outside of a turn, and it doesn't affect their turn as long as I'm clear of them by the exit, in my opinion. And they haven't said that's wrong yet. So had a couple
Well,
outside,
you
had a
can't
few
dive bomb
outside
people
passes.
on the outside. I think that's fair game.
So I had a few passes like that, which were pretty good. And then but I was dodging. There was like 3 or 4 times where like 2 cars would bump, and it's like, this is it. And then they would just magically kind of clear out of the way, and I'd miss them by just a hair. And it's like, well, there's 2 spots. So it was a lot of fun. And then, like I said, I had to short pit because of damage. So I had to make a 3rd pit stop, but it was great. And I've seen, SF2 is great, and the coaching program is going pretty well because, like I've seen guys from Peter Lee and Ian Worrell. I've seen all you guys get a lot better. Barry Stockdale worked with him last season, and he got a lot better. So, looking forward to the rest of the season.
Well, thank you.
All right,
That's
we're
good
looking
to
forward to seeing what you can do, especially at Watkins.
So looking forward to that.
hear.
Oh yeah, and it's not the boot this time because last time, like I followed you, Pete, at Watkins last time, and it was like I was good everywhere except for the toe. Well, I call it the toe, where you go down in the boot, then you go around that sharp right,
Mhm.
and you would beat me there, and I could not figure out how. We don't have that this time, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to that and seeing how it
I
goes.
don't know. I don't know, Jonathan. You can say that because Pete's not actually going to be in the race this time, right? So
Oh no, I really enjoy running with Pete at
I'm
Watkins
teasing
Glen.
you, mate. I'm
Like,
teasing you. I'm
that was a
teasing you.
blast. So, but yeah, that's the one track on the schedule that I definitely, every time it comes up on the season, I'm like, we go there, and I know that whether it's practice or the race, I run really well. So
Awesome.
we'll see how that goes. But that's 2 weeks, so I'll gear up for Intergalagos, and we'll see how next weekend goes.
Good stuff, man.
But I'll get out y'all's hair and let y'all grab Dancy out of the booth. And thanks for everything you all do with the broadcast. I much appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Well, congratulations. Good finish, and we look forward to seeing what you can do at Watkins Glen. We will see you then.
Yes, sir.
Jonathan Dockery there. P24. No, 25. Sorry. P24 is our own Ian Worrell. Did not want to give him that position for you there, buddy. But yeah, great race nonetheless.
Well, I'm
bring
just sitting here breathing quiet.
You're not gonna let me live that down, are you?
No, not a chance.
In the
Not a
meantime,
chance.
while I sit here and hang my head in shame, let's bring in Joshua Dancy, race winner, first time race winner, I believe. No pressure. Allison in the audience listening to everything that you say, so don't slip up. But Joshua, talk to us about how the race went for you.
Yeah, I don't. It's weird. I kind of want to come out first and say that it probably should have been Chris's race. I passed him in a way that kind of wasn't fair. He left me plenty of room, and I in no way had any intention of beating him the way I did. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if you got to see that last lap or not.
Yeah, I was curious if you wanted to talk us through that section from 130R to the chicane.
Chris, can you pull that up on the video?
Sure.
Basically, I was just kind of trying to let him know I was there, and because he was faster than me all race long. I was just kind of hanging on, and I was just kind of trying to let him know I was there. And I think he just cut me a massive break once he saw me go wide, and just left plenty of room. Didn't try to push me off or anything. He left me plenty of room to not wreck coming to the finish. And when I came back off the off track, I was just right beside him, and I'm like, oh okay, I was not expecting to still be there. And basically, he just cut me a massive break to the chicane. Didn't really push me off or anything. Left me plenty of room. And then, I mean, it was very, very clean and fair racing, but maybe not the most on my part.
Now that said, we talked last week, and I think that was a P2 for you and your highest finish. Now, by my math, 1 is a little bit higher than 2, and that means this is your first ever, these provisional Sunday night Skippy win.
Yeah, I mean, it's if I get to keep the win, it was amazing and awesome and everything, but it's not necessarily the way I wanted to win, if that makes sense. Had I kept it clean and kept it on the track through 130R, 100%. But Chris, if I was in Chris's position, that's not how I'd want to get raced. So if that makes a lot of sense.
Now, I will say, we spoke with Chris a little bit earlier, and he felt that was a really fantastic battle towards the end. He figured maybe he might have left you a little bit too much room, and you were able to make it happen. So, from his perspective, looks like it was a really strong battle. Coming into that final pit stop, I was a little bit surprised actually to see that jump. What was the strategy, or was there some forward-thinking strategy to try to get that track position into the second fuel stop?
Yeah. So basically, I saved. So I use cruise chief, whatever, so I can kind of gauge how much fuel I need for the end of the race. And before the first pit stop, I think I saved 2 liters or 2 gallons or 0.2 gallons. And by the second pit stop, I had saved enough that I think I only had to take 1.2 gallons or something, basically nothing. I think Carl and Chris probably had to take 1.6. And so basically, I had a pretty good jump on them. I hung out that last lap before the second pit stop because I knew I'd be able to get the jump in the pits.
All right. Well, it certainly worked to put you in an excellent position. I believe coming out of the pits, we saw with the timing that I had available, something like a 1.4 second gap, which is monstrous over somebody like Chris Herrera. So that was flawlessly executed. Don't know if you've seen it yet or we're aware of it, but best we can tell, looks like Perez, Valerino, and Dronky all managed to draw pit lane speeding penalties between the first and second pit stops, which, with that 1.4 second gap with the executed pit strategy in that second stop, that was a fantastically strong move, especially charging up through the field. That was very well done. I think you had what was it, 6 positions gained overall on the day for the win.
Yeah, the pit road, it was weird. Even the first pit stop, like me and Eric came in back to back, and we kind of laid off coming in, and then I saw Christian and Edwin. I think they locked the brakes up, and I kind of knew something probably happened. And once we left pit road and they weren't coming, I knew something was kind of up. I think I went from 7th to 5th there, and then I went from somebody spun, went to 4th, and I think I went from like 4th to 1st, maybe the second pit stop, something like that. It was pretty good gains overall.
Yeah, that was very well done. Now, for I believe next week we're at it was at Imola,
Interlagos.
Interlagos, correct? Yep. It's one of those things where I remembered it as Imola once, and now when I'm at Imola, I think Interlagos. When I'm at Interlagos, I think Imola. And once I get it right on, like the Monday, starting that race week, it's not Interlagos in my head. I have to think not Imola, right?
Not Imola.
It's one of those
Gotcha.
one of those things that just kind of sticks a little bit funny. So for not Imola, otherwise known as Interlagos, next week, how are you feeling?
Confident. That was actually my first top 10 last season. I think I got 7th or 8th. So that was like my first track where I kind of felt like I might start gaining a little pace. Hopefully I can go back and do. Honestly, I'm completely happy with top 10s. So, my mindset's kind of changed the last few weeks, but whenever I'm in the top 10, I'm still kind of pretty happy. So hopefully I can go there, maybe grab a top 5 this time.
All right, looking forward to it. That's one of my favorite combos as well. I love the cadence, honestly, with every car that I've done at not Imola, otherwise known as Interlagos. So I'm really glad to hear that that's a favorite for you as well. Looking for another action-packed week.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's a colder track than last season. If I remember, I think last season it was a bit of a warm track, but I'm not sure how iRacing does their weather for each season.
No one's sure how iRacing does their weather.
Yeah, we had.
Yeah.
I don't think today was necessarily cool in either races.
No. The SF2 race was driving on lava, so we thought we had asphalt, but we didn't.
That's never fun.
The track temp was 52 degrees Celsius or 120 something degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, I will say I'm not even sure who really sets up the SNS stuff, but like recently our SF1 stuff has been super close to the pub racing. I mean, I know this isn't the same technical track that the pubs are racing this week, but most of my pub races were around 76 to like 84, and this one I think was like 84 or 83. So it was all kind of close.
Yep, we try.
Yeah, it makes it more consistent.
Well,
makes
hey,
it
man,
easier to come into it.
We will give you the. I mean, I don't want to take anything away. For the time being, let's pour the champagne and celebrate fantastic win here tonight at Suzuka, and congratulations. Anybody that you want to give a shout out to before we let you go and celebrate your first SNS win?
I'll give a shout out to you guys, obviously, for doing the broadcast. It's always fun to listen to, and my wife, she was definitely behind me cheering going into that last corner. So it was definitely like a little more of a pump up thing, kind of
That's awesome.
more exciting. So
that is awesome.
Thank you guys so much for everything you guys do, and I'll see you guys next week.
Yep, take care, my friend.
Sounds good. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Oop, I moved Ian. Sorry.
You see, I'm breathing too hard again. That's what it is, right?
I knew as soon as I moved him, I was going to hear that.
We have ways of making you regret it, man.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I'm writing a whole soliloquy now for what we'll do on the podcast this week.
For next week,
about breathing.
For the next podcast, you're lining it up.
Yeah.
Well, hey, so real quick, we got to get going here. Speaking of podcasts, but the thing that I'll say about that last pass there on 130R, it looked a little sketchy there on first watch through, but as we rode along on his roll bar there, he didn't actually gain position until he got back on the track, and he was actually behind Chris for quite a bit of the ways. He just had that inside position going into the final chicane. That's my take. That
Yep.
is, I'm a steward insofar as like I've broken one or two ties in my 5 seasons here. So, some along those lines. That's just my take on what I saw. So, I think, whether Chris was being humble or not, whether Joshua was being humble or not, I think that was kind of what I saw on the replay. But we'll see. I mean, the stewards have the final say, and certainly they know better than I do. Either way, great run tonight by Joshua Dancy. Nothing to be, go home and hang your head about. He put on a heck of a run, great strategy, executed well, put himself in a position to win, and did so in my mind. So there you go.
Exactly. Even putting himself in the position to have a slightly controversial incident with Chris Herrera while having a massive lead over the next gap.
Right.
That's a fantastic night, right? That's a fantastic performance. No matter what happens with the stewarding, you can't diminish that at all. He did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah,
guys, I missed all of that. My internet suddenly stopped working completely.
Oh,
It's like it stopped breathing.
yeah. Gotta stop breathing.
You see? It's catching. It's even catching.
You were breathing too much, so the internet stopped to kind of even things out.
Ay.
Anyway, well, all right, so we'll wrap it up. Ian, fantastic run tonight. I know we didn't really get a chance to talk about the SF2 race at all, and none of the guys came into the booth to interview, but it was great racing throughout. For the most part, things got a little strung out right at the end, -1 battle. I know you'd probably like to have that one back a little bit, but kind of made up for that here with a heck of a run through the field in the Formula One race. So, final thoughts on Suzuka before we head to, I'm sorry, is it Imola?
Imola.
Interlagos? Yeah.
See?
See? Imola. No, we're going to Imola.
No, you've got it too.
Pete, it's Imola, mate. It's Imola. That's where we're going. Okay?
That's where we're going. Some chicanes, some straightaways, followed by some chicanes. Yeah.
Yeah. Interlagos. Just think, it's where I could get wet twice.
Oh my.
It's in between two lakes, Interlagos. Anyway, yeah, going back to
we need to tag the stream.
That just sounds a lot like not Imola to me. That's it.
Anyway, going back to the whole thing. No, it was. I keep going back to the fact that this is my second year of iRacing. I mean, a lot of folks have been around a lot longer than I have, and they go, "Oh, this is my favorite track, and that's my favorite track." I mean, Jonathan was saying that his favorite track is Watkins Glen. I actually have really started to like both the West that we did and in the SF2 race and the full GP layout for Suzuka. I really love the S's and just foot to the floor, and you're just using throttle steering to sort of drive you through those S's. It feels so cool. Again, anybody who's not done it, get a car and have a go, because it's amazing. And yeah, I loved the racing there. I wasn't so keen on the lava instead of the asphalt, but these things happen and we just move forward, and I was, as you say, I would have loved to have had that race back and not get the little bang from behind, which I think was a complete accident. No problem at all with that. These things do happen. But no, it was, I would have loved to have been where I could hear you guys discussing, and this is in front, and then this guy, and then this, and this, and this, and I wish I was up there as well. But hey, maybe next week, right?
100%, man. Yeah, it's any given week. I think I said the word parody before, but it's just it's so awesome to see you in both series, not knowing really what to expect going into it. I think is just such a good thing for the league, and it just goes to show, the strides that not only the drivers, but the coaching. I mean, we've got just battles throughout the field that continually, I'm looking at one thing and something's happening, just behind them, and then Pete's bringing up something else, and there's just some really great action that's really pushing everybody to make themselves better. And I think at one point in the Discord this week, somebody brought up, and I forget who was talking. But what I do remember is Jason Bice saying like, "Hey, it's just by the way, it's interesting to note that somebody is getting a lot better, and our league's reaction to that is awesome, great. Like this is." Licking our chops to get more competition versus where you might find in other leagues like, oh, people are getting better, I got more
Yeah,
competition, blah blah blah. So
yeah. No, I
yeah.
100%. And I mean, I'd be very disappointed to hear people moaning about other folks getting faster. Yeah, and it is very heartening to see that happening, and long may that reign, because that's what we're all about, right? We've always said we are a developmental league, and we want people to develop, and we want people to, leave. When I say leave, I don't mean leave. I mean racing in public races and stuff like that, and everybody going, "Oh yeah, those are the guys that run in the Sunday night Skippy leagues," and that's why they're both really fast, really good, and really clean. And I think hearing that kind of stuff is just amazing. I feel like a proud parent.
Pete, last thoughts before we go to not Imola.
With
So we're not breathing in not Imola.
Just pretend you're underwater, Ian. It'll be fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, really looking forward to next week. I'm hoping that the difficulty level, trying to keep up with all the action, on one hand, doesn't keep at the same feverish pace that it has from last week to this week. But on the other, man, not Imola, otherwise known as Interlagos, you can literally go side by side around the whole track. It's actually it's that I don't mean like, oh, there's a lot of good battle opportunities. There's a couple sections here and there. You can do a full side by side lap at full beans, and have that full battle. I think I've actually done it on Sunday Night Skippy a few times on those white flag laps. So with how large the groups were and how many of those groups were this week, if that same respect and discipline and competency holds for next week, man, we have our work cut out for us in the best way possible.
Yeah, agreed. I think that being again, it feels like I'm new, but now I've been doing this for a year, which still isn't long. But the road racing thing, I will say that I was never really into it, but Suzuka now, if there's if there's a series racing there, I'm in. Interlagos is another one of those courses where I'm like, yep, love it, let's do it. I don't care what we're running in. I'm excited to be there, and even if I'm not super fast, it's a fun track, and to your point, Pete, it's just gonna induce a lot of competition throughout the field, which is a good problem for us to have, but also good for the field, good for the league, and I'm looking forward to it. Catch us here next week. Skippy Formula 2 at 8:10 p.m. Skippy Formula 1, 9 to 9:10-ish p.m. as you've seen. We kind of figure it out as we go. But it was a great week. Thank you all for joining us. And we will see you in 1 week. Yeah, that's all I got. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Good night.